Maybe so.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at karaoke, but I'll do my best. So for for this Big Mac meeting, the responses, the way they break down, and I'm going to be happy to share all of this with you. You can distribute it as is necessary. I got several documents here, but I'm going to give you the 248 call breakdown for Johnson Valley, Joshua Tree, Landers, Pioneer Town, Wonder Valley, and Yucca Mesa. So in the Johnson Valley area, we had 5 responses, and I'm not going to break down each one, but I'm going to share that information with you so you can. Joshua Tree was 133. Landers ended up being 37. Pioneer Town was 4. Wonder Valley was 36, and Yucca Mesa was 33. We just recently promoted, it was a total of 3 fire captains to the area that are new faces to the area that hadn't worked here previously. 2 that are in 29 Palms, and 1 that is up on the Mesa as well. So you'll see some new faces. We're hoping to get some media blitz out with regard to their name and a brief bio and so forth and so on, because they come from various areas around the county. But that's kind of the newest thing. And then keep in mind also, and there should have already been some media shared, that there's a burning suspension for the county at this particular point in time. So permit or no permit, there's no burning, no open flame. It's a great way to get in trouble, right, by having burning going on when you're not supposed to. So in advance of wildfire season, there's no burning in the county. So don't do it. Keep all those weeds, keep all those tumbleweeds and so forth and so on, the trimmings on the back part of your property where they're not going to cause you any problems, and don't burn them. It's burn suspension. So it's don't even call the fire station looking to see when you can burn. You cannot burn. Okay, you cannot burn. It's that time of year, and it's not worth the risk in doing it. So anyway, any questions real quick?
So a pit fire at night where people are sitting around a pit?
We don't have a problem with someone having a cooking fire and it's an approved cooking fire. That's it. But no bonfires, no actual, you want to burn and watch the fire because it's cool? No, we can't do that. Cooking fires, we can't prohibit people from cooking food, and that's one way to cook food, right? But if we show up and you're doing it in a bonfire style, that's going to be a problem. So don't do that, because no one cooks in a bonfire style. We kind of know what a campfire looks like. We're relatively familiar with it. It's part of our training package that we go through. We learn what a campfire is. So no bonfire cooking. Yeah, not good.
I was just hearing about some drones that are flying over Pioneer Town that have flames attached to them.
I don't know anything about any drones flying around.
They're Japanese lanterns.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about any
Well,
lanterns.
they have fire. Explain it.
There's a heat source, which is a flame.
Wait a minute.
There's an envelope, it's all very good.
I know what they look like. I'm just not familiar with any mass,
Not masses.
thing going on.
Yeah, it's just been on social media, and the
Okay.
people over there are quite upset about it, and I was gonna bring it up to the CAL FIRE guys. They're called Chinese lanterns. There's a flame, there's a heat source, a light envelope, and it creates a hot air balloon
Sure.
type of a thing, and it floats off gently and beautifully into the, hopefully not the dry brush.
Right, so that would be, that's against the rules. We don't do that. No rocketry, things like that.
Oh, I
So
know.
anything that's open flame, even tiny things, you're prohibited from doing that. So if you were to see somebody, let them know that they need to not do that. And then anybody in attendance and or watching on media, it's not okay to have open flames right now at all. You're prohibited from doing it.
Thank you.
Gas, like propane, we don't. Yeah, we don't have an issue with that because it's only going to put out such a flame. The flame length will be, less than 8 inches, and we're okay with that. That's not a big deal. If obviously, where we get into real heartache is people that don't do it responsibly, and so they still have extra things burning in addition to that. That creates problems for us. So that is an approved burning source, however. So that's okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so very much. I'm going to leave this on for whoever's next.
Whoever's next is CSD Fire Department. And then CAL FIRE.
You're up, Terry.
Well, since county already stole all the, he's first, so he gets to tell all the stories. But anyway,
Terry, hold the microphone.
okay,
Get
so
off of there and just hold it.
I'm not good at karaoke either. I think him and I went to the same school, no karaoke. Our report is we had 36 calls this last month, 22 of them medical aids, 2 public assist, 9 fire, and 3 collision. And as he was mentioning, there's a lot of dry out there, so no matter what, cigarettes, everything, everybody has to be very, very careful. We don't want to have to run on fires. They get going too big, and then it's a big problem. But anyway, any questions? Okay, I told you he took everything. Thank you.
Thank you. CHP. I'm sorry, I don't have your name first, so I could call you by name, but I don't.
There you go first.
Sure. Come on up, Jason. Make sure I get the mic. Hey, good evening. Lieutenant Cooper. I'm the commander of Morongo Basin. And this is my new public information officer, Jason Cabali. This is actually his first official day of taking over.
Autographs in the back if you want.
There you go.
Sign off tickets, we're good.
So Simon Miller, which was our previous public information officer, has gone back to the field, and so Jason has taken his spot. Cabali. And for those who don't, last time I was here, we talked about having an open house. We will have a open house this Saturday from 8 to 12 at the Morongo CHP office. We will have our helicopter present, our canine demonstration, motorcycle officers will be here. We are attempting to put together an Explorer program, which has to be between the ages of 14 and 21, in addition to our senior volunteer program. So if you are interested in getting some information or want to meet our Inland Division Chief, which is Bill Dance, or our Assistant Chief, Troy Lucas, come on out. We'll have refreshments, and you get to talk to the officers on Saturday. So this Saturday from 8 to 12. Next weekend, which is Memorial Weekend, that is our maximum enforcement period. Our primary responsibility is to keep the road safe for the motoring public, so every available officer that is either not on vacation or on days off will be working that day, and our target is going to be drunk driving and distracted driving. So that starts next Friday through Sunday or Monday at midnight. So that'll be for Memorial Weekend. Jason? Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I know what the black band means, but who are we mourning? The crowd here probably don't know.
Well, this whole month is Peace Officer Memorial Month.
Say again?
Peace Officer Memorial Month.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So every month, every year during the month of May, we honor the fallen officers. So we wear the black band.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question. What does the community officer do?
The
When do we see you? When do we?
The public information officer?
Yeah, public.
The public information officer, I'm the face of the highway patrol out here. So anytime that there's an important incident that the highway patrol responds to, I would be the face of the highway patrol giving statements or things like that in regards to traffic related incidents and other incidents that we may respond to. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a statement on that horrific accident Saturday night in Josh?
Oh,
Can you use the mic or repeat the question?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. The question was about the incident on State Route 62 on Saturday. There was a gentleman that was driving eastbound on Highway 62. I have a press release about it. It was released to the press this morning. And he, for an unknown reason, he veered across the roadway ended up colliding with the motel and rolling over. Some debris actually involved another vehicle. There was some, the injuries were moderate, and those people were transported to the High Desert Medical Center. For any other information, I can get you that. It's a
That car was
so.
I went by it shortly after. I have not seen a vehicle so mangled. It must have been a lower speed, because this thing was just, it was awful.
Yes.
I thought for sure somebody died, but nobody died.
No, ma'am.
Moderate injuries.
Yes.
Mary Ellen, the mic.
Is oh, you're hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Do I have any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there someone from the sheriff's office? Yeah, oh,
Cal Fire's waiting.
Cal Fire, okay. Tell me my eyes don't work. There you go.
Poor devil.
Fool me once. Good evening, Graham Malinowski, Battalion Chief for CAL FIRE out here in the Desert Battalion. So just a little update for us. We are in declared fire season, like Chief Laurie alluded to. We did start staffing. We only briefly downstaffed. As you know, we had fires late into December, January, all the tragic fires out on the Central Coast. So we were downstaffed for a couple weeks, and now we're already back up to fire season staffing. Yesterday, we had a significant fire in San Diego and Siskiyou. So literally Mexican border to the Nevada border. So it's here. It's kind of like shingles. It never goes away. It's just worse than other times. We did have some late rainfall. At least somebody got it. We do have some late rainfall. Did give us some grass crop, but nothing to where we have like that 100% normal rainfall. So we're still down on rain. That's still going to affect California this year. We'll have enough grass to have significant fires. So just be prepared for that. Best thing you can do is defensible space. You know, we go into an entire community and there's good defensible space. It really helps us do what we need to do as far as getting crews in there, making it safe for us to actually stop the fire. So less fuel, better chance we can stop it. In conjunction with County Fire, we did do burning is rescinded now for both agencies, LRA, SRA, at 0600 this morning. So May 14th, 0600, no more open burning. So yeah, if you see anything, Chinese lantern, doesn't matter, open flame, that's not, you know, like a cooking type fire, barbecue, obviously, those are fine. If you see any inappropriate outdoor fires, yes, they are legal, penal code, all that, so they can't have it. So yeah, we're started having fires already. In our unit, we also in Yomono County, we had a 1,600 acre fire up in Lone Pine, 3 weeks ago. So kind of typical. Their fire season's earlier in the year just because of the way it works up there, frost and all that stuff, kind of kills some stuff before it turns green. So also another thing I'd like to share with you guys, and I've shared it with some of our partners already. We do have the fire prevention grant program is open right now. It's open to local and community government type establishments, 501c3s, community service districts, community service areas. Basically what it is the bulk of it is for hazard fuel reduction, but there's some other stuff in there. So you can go to the CAL FIRE website, which is fire.ca.gov, and right on the front there'll be a link to the fire prevention grants. So you could put in for, you know, Morongo could put in for chipper days or something like that. That just is an example. Everybody can put in for it. Or hazard fuel reduction in certain areas that are overgrown, all that. So it has to be on the SRA, but you can put in for that. Yep, right on our website. Any other questions? I think that's the bulk of it, sir.
That fire assessment fee, I was paying out of living in an area where it's fire, it was dedicated for fire prevention.
It went to those,
We're not gonna be doing that anymore?
right, it's a same kind of mission we're doing, different funding source. So that's way above me. I'm boots on the ground, go do the work.
Who do we think we're getting rid of that? Dr. Brown, I hope?
Couldn't tell you. We can talk afterwards though.
Wasn't cheap, I paid $100 or something like that.
Yep. Any other questions, Gail?
Mike?
Microphone.
Is the airway station staffed now,
Yes.
24/7?
Yes. They were down staff for 3 weeks maybe. So fire season kind of ended and then it just restarted. So, and we had people there most of the time anyways, just with the permanent staff that works there. So, yep. Any other questions, ma'am?
On the burn prohibition?
Yes.
You have a soft voice. It's important that we get this right.
Thank you. On the burn prohibition, are you talking about fire pits as well? Because there's a number of Airbnbs in our neighborhood that have fire pits in the yard, and pretty much every weekend when people are vacationing there, they're burning. So just wondering if that is included.
So like the chief had said, there's certain parameters. So you can have like entertainment type fires in certain parameters and cooking type fires. If it's just an open fire, like open use fire, and it's not in a designated like campfire ring, stuff like that, then they can't have it. So it might be nice, it might be cool, but you can't have it. So if you're curious, you can call the station. Stuff that's approved, they should be calling the station anyways, so that way we don't send people out there. But don't wait, communicate, call 911.
Thank you.
Yep. If you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to call, just call. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, just wanted some more clarity on that. If it's like an enclosed, like a small mesh fire pit for wood, is that not allowed, or you're only the open ones?
Where do you live? Do you know if you live
Joshua Tree.
You're in Joshua Tree. So depends where you live, whether you're in the SRA or the LRA. In Joshua Tree, if it's like a commercial type, entertainment type fire, that's not essentially like an open fire campfire, then that's something you can get a campfire permit for. You still have to be permitted.
Okay, but I mean, that sounds like that's banned. I know there's the permit for burning, and then you have to call in each time if you want to have a fire.
They're kind of two different things, because burning is more like debris burning, open use burning,
right?
Like bonfire stuff like that. If it's in an aftermarket type thing and you're burning like a, kind of like a single log, that kind of falls under campfire permits.
Okay.
And there is campfire permits, but then they get shut down too on high wind days, red flag days. And you can find that on readyforwildfire.org.
Okay, because
you still have to call, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I want to get pretty specific because I advise a lot of Airbnb people on what to notify their guests of. So I kind of, what's the best source for?
The easiest way is to call the station and have them come out.
So everybody should call the station for their individual.
Because they can't burn without a permit anyways, so they're going to have to go through the station no matter what.
Okay, so there's no general. I mean, let's say it's like one of these things you buy.
No.
You still have to
Nope,
get
it has to be permitted. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep. Like if you had a little propane ring or something like that, you can have that. You still have to have a campfire permit for it.
But you have to get a permit even for a propane fired
Yep.
little campfire thing.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a campfire permit. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
There was somebody.
So just to clarify, on a high wind day, nobody should be burning in a fire pit at an Airbnb, period?
No. Nope.
So they should call you.
Yep. They
get
still
you out
still
there.
have to have a permit, no matter what.
Thank you.
Yep. There's different permits, there's like open use, like when we say burning, you could be debris burning where you want to burn, 4x4 piles of tumbleweeds you've collected all winter, and I want to burn these off. Okay, that's kind of like what our typical burn permit or open burning, that's shut off. There is campfire where you can have campfires under specific restrictions with a permit, and so like red flag warning, all that would be a no. And there's a process for that. So best way is just call the station, go through your station.
All right, we're going to be getting along. This will be the last question.
Aren't there certain things that you have to have if you have a campfire, like a hose that is turned on and
It's on the permit, and they go through that before you even do it. Yep. All right.
Wait, quickly. Is that permit downloadable to have a sample copy standing by?
Readyforwildfire.org. You can Google it.
Sample permit ready for wildfire.
Or whatever search engine floats your fancy. Can't endorse any search engine.
Okay. Need to move on.
We can give it to you.
Next, it's not on the agenda, but is the time for public comment on issues that are not on the agenda. And there is a 3-minute period and Mary, where is it on the agenda?
Well, so we have to hear from sheriffs. We haven't heard from them.
Sheriff here?
Okay. And
No.
then next is your presentation, and then Blake's presentation, and then reports from members of the MAC, and lastly is call for public comment.
Oh, they changed the order. Okay. Well, why don't we do Blake first, because I have to set this back up again. And in fact, it would be actually much more convenient to do the other things first, just because of this screen, which we're kind of hampered with.
You win today, whatever you want.
I know.
But I'm leaving at 7, I'm telling you right now.
That's right. You have to leave at 7:30. Thank you, Blake.
Hello. This is a quick update, shouldn't take more than 10 minutes or
Is
so.
that
No,
on?
probably not.
If you pull it out, you'll use it like karaoke.
How about this? Like that? Is that working? Okay. So this should be a quick update to the presentation and the conversations I've been having with people about rural broadband and internet service in our area. I attended last Wednesday the California Public Utilities Commission and Advanced Services Fund workshop follow-up in San Bernardino. I was invited by Mark and also the president of the Inland Empire Regional Broadband Consortium. It was a well-attended meeting. The California Public Utilities Commission was there, Frontier was there, Time Warner was there, or Charter, and AT&T. The town managers from both 29 Palms and Yucca were there. The mayor of 29 Palms was there. The CEO of the California Emerging Technology Fund was there, among other people, the chief data officer of Riverside County. So it was a very well-attended meeting, and I was asked to come in and cause trouble, quite specifically by a party who will remain nameless. It was not Mark. And that's what I did. I waited through most of the meeting, and then when it was my turn to speak a little bit and explain why I was there, I told them that I was appalled by their lack of action, that we knew that they were sitting on millions of dollars of FCC grant money, that the maps that they provided to the public to explain, where the money was going to be appropriated were all incorrect. Something that we went over in the presentation when I was here last. And I wanted to hear specifically from Frontier, and there were 2 representatives there from Frontier, when and what they were going to be doing with the grant money that we knew that they had for our area. And I'm talking about all of the Morongo Basin. They refused to give us any information at all. They basically said, well, and this was funny, they said, well, we talk about things we're working on and things that we've done, but we really don't like to talk about our plans because we wouldn't want to tell you something and then have you be disappointed.
That's true. But you're already disappointed.
I was like, what?
We're there.
Fortunately, at that point, the CEO of the California Emerging Technology Fund took them to task on this and said, listen, this is public money. We know that the grants are there, and I think we need better information. And then the chair of the meeting said, yes, I'm not sure the Frontier is saying they're not going to share any information with you. And I said, okay, well, tell me what they said then, because that's what I heard. And then they said, well, we're willing to talk to you after the meeting and at some point let you know. So, so I don't have an update with that specific information as to what Frontier is doing with all the grant money they received from the FCC 2 years ago, that they only have about another 18 months to spend. Not holding my breath. They seemed totally unprepared for the meeting, which was a surprise because I think they knew what people were going to come and ask them. And they didn't even have the ability to have a conversation about what technologies may be viable for rapid deployment in rural areas like ours and which aren't. They didn't even want to talk about it. The good news is since then, I received an update from the competitive local exchange carrier known as Pacific Lightwave, and I believe they are moving forward with a pilot program in our area. The county and Yucca and 29 were asked to nominate areas for this pilot. They have what I understand is great technology. It's LTE over 5G. It can be deployed rapidly in rural areas. They don't need to put down any new cable to homes. There's no last mile problem. This is basically the same type of service that you get when you turn on the mobile hotspot on your cell phone, but no data caps and dedicated to fixed locations. So there would be an antenna, much like we have today, an antenna on your roof pointing at a tower. The big difference is it's riding protected radio spectrum, unlike the services we have today. So it's much less susceptible to interference, and it's, so far, what I'm hearing, much more cost-effective for them and for us. So that's the update. I was hoping for more information from Frontier. They didn't bring it. I am going to be following up with them. I did make all of our concerns very well known to all the people in the room, and I had a couple conversations afterward with the commissioner of the California Public Utilities Commission regarding some of the things I discovered about their maps and the way we submit information and the problems that are there. So that's the quick update. I do have surveys. If you are unsatisfied with your internet service and you want to provide information to help to correct the map that the state of California uses to issue grants or not issue grants, then I have these right here, and I'm happy to talk to anybody and describe, what you need to fill out here. Basically, there's a map that is based on FCC information that shows what homes are served by broadband internet and what homes aren't. And for our area, and in fact for most rural areas, the maps are simply wrong. They show houses being served that don't have it, and homes being not being served that might. The bigger problem is showing homes that aren't served that don't. That aren't served as having service, because at that point nobody comes in, you can't get grant money to run new service to the area. So correcting those maps is important. So if you feel like filling out a survey, I also heard that they are taking this information and loading it into the database as soon as they get it. Last time I spoke to them, they said it only happened once a year. So the paper surveys are here. All right, that's it.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, in order to give my report, I need to put up the screen.
I thought you wanted to do your choice by numbers of the map.
Yeah. Says,
Your report has a screen too?
yes. And you're going to have to move in order to see it.
I'm so confused. I'm supposed to be here at 5:30.
Well, wonder where it goes on. Something's happening. It's going to be hard if you're in the back to see that. The reason, if you weren't here, why we're not using the wall is the covering on the wall takes the light from the projector and just blinds you. So you can't see anything. But if you're interested in the West Mojave routes of travel, you might want to get closer. Just getting, aha. Oh, I didn't do it right. Huh? Yeah, we do focus. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so many of you remember from last year that the routes of travel for the West Mojave Plan were, the maps came out and there was 10,000 miles of routes. And for many of us living in the Morongo Basin, in the checkerboarded landscape, we had little bits and pieces of green everywhere, and we were asked to comment on those, which was very difficult. But they did receive over 6,000 comments. I believe that's a good number from us. And they also have begun to understand really clearly that this is not the big open spaces and that this is where people live. So this time around, their preferred option, or it's not option, their preferred alternative is number 4. And it's better for us, but we can also ask for number 2. And number 2 is excellent for us because number 2 takes all those little routlets and makes them street legal only. So my hope is that if everybody agrees and you comment to BLM that you like alternative 2 with the sub-alternatives, and you'll be able to, can you see through me to look at the screen, Bob?
You're in the way.
That's what I wondered. I'm going to talk from behind, and then I'm going to be sitting down and running it. As I said, this is difficult, but we just have to go with it, you know. So the draft is out. The deadline for comments is June 14th. For comment help, you want to ask Community ORV Watch, and there's the website. The WEMO update maps and comment forms you can also get from ORV Watch, and also sign in for email notifications. There will be information on mbca.org for Morongo Basin Conservation Association, but in working with Cal will have maps and that sort of thing and to be in to help you. Or you can go directly to the Bureau of Land Management website. If you're taking notes, then you would Google BLM WEMO, West Mojave Plan, and that will come up. And so I'm going to show you what it looks like because I didn't know if I was going to have, so this is what the page looks like, West Mojave Network Project. And what you're interested in, after you read that blurb, is down here where it says georeferenced PDF maps. And those, you have to download the maps. You can't use the PDF unless that map is on your computer. And then you can open it and look at the various levels. Here, I'll scoot by you.
Can we put this whole thing on the MBCA?
Yeah, yeah. It's very few slides.
And it's not mbca.org, it's
mbconservation.org. Right. And then, so it can go on every place. So when you hit that PDF, you get to have 5 choices. The first thing would be your comment form that you could download, or I think maybe even make the comment in that form. There's some way to do that. I'm not sure. That wasn't my assignment. Then you have the map index list, and then you have the figure. So there's the figure. This whole area is the West Mojave Plan boundary. We're down here in TMA 3. So I'm not talking today about any of the other areas. When you go to the index, you'll see all of this, which will just frighten you to death. But you only care about TMA 3. And all of these are not necessarily important for you. You find your own area and explore it. And we'll do that in a minute with some maps. But first I want to say, how does the BLM decide on routes? And they use what's called the minimization criteria. And as part of the federal regulation 43 CFR 8342.1, and we like that, so we'll use the numbers. Because it requires designation of public lands and routes as open, limited, or closed based on protection of resources of public lands, safety of all users, and minimization of conflicts among the various uses. Are we one of the uses? Yes, we are, going from point A to point B. And the public lands, and in accordance with the following minimization criteria. And so you can read this. It minimizes damage to soil, watershed, vegetation, and other resources. Minimize harassment of wildlife, significant disruption of wildlife. We'll talk about the fact that they do not have our wildlife corridors on their parts of the map. They should, they know, they don't. Areas and trails must be located to minimize conflicts between off-road uses and other existing recreational uses. And you can't mess around with officially designated wilderness. Okay. Come on. Next one. So alternative 2, resource conservation enhancement. The alternative 2 travel management framework includes an access network which supports the objectives of increased biological and other resource enhancement in the entire planning area. So that's why we're after 2. The Hope and the Morongo Basin, we can say, in the Morongo Basin, we want alternative 2. And it emphasizes elimination of access as the primary mitigation measure to resolve conflicts. So if you have a conflict, access may not be, but you'll see, you can unfurl your brow for a while yet. The number of route miles in alternative 2 in the whole region is 5,231 miles. The preferred alternative is 6,000. The street legal only, which we're interested, is 361 miles, the most of any alternative, and its alternative 4 is 142. When we had the meeting with BLM, we were told that they would mix and match these alternatives. They don't have to go with just one alternative for everywhere. So you don't have to go ranging through all the alternatives for your area. And then we have a new sign that is being made that is going to be, the first batch will be put up out in Wonder Valley on county maintained roads. This sign will be available for purchase for areas and from the county. And the sign says there are no designated off-highway vehicle riding areas or trails in the Morongo Valley. Persons found operating off-highway vehicles on any road, including unpaved roads, could be issued a citation for San Bernardino County Code Section 28.0403. Off-highway vehicles traveling through the Morongo Valley must be towed. This language is based on the San Bernardino OHV ordinance, and it has been approved by the legal department. So, yes.
But that's what they mean, it's the basin.
It's the basin, they mean it. Yes, thank you.
But it should say Morongo Basin, not Morongo Valley.
Yeah, it will. It will.
Okay.
It will. Thank you. Just, you know how many things are around to notice? So we like everybody to notice stuff. Yeah, I just copied this off of what I got, and that's true. It should be Morongo Basin. And there also will be language on this sign which includes rifles and pistols are illegal to shoot or fire on county land. And that's not the wording. That wording is being worked on. The signs, which are 36 by 30, and I misspelled and, will be $188 installed on county maintained roads. If you don't have a county maintained road and you get together as a group and you buy one of these signs, which is pretty big, there will be less than $188 because you're not going to be paying the county to install it. But it comes as a kit. You get the pole and you get the hardware and you get the sign. So you get everything you need to do. You don't have to go out and buy anything. Is that all clear? Okay. And it also works with the existing off-highway vehicle map and brochure that's out there. And this is just the map that I'm showing you. And which basically says in the red area that San Bernardino County OHV ordinance applies to unincorporated areas or where adopted except BLM land. So there we are. So just as what the sign was saying. And also pointing out that they left out when they did, what you'll see is various essential elements to doing the plan. They left out something very important, which is the wildlife linkages that connect Joshua Tree National Park to the Marine Base. They have the ones in that connect it to San Bernardino Mountain. So that's important. They know it. They're aware of it. Okay, that's all that's on this. Any questions?
Does
Should-
this area cover Johnson Valley?
Pardon me?
Is Johnson Valley in Morongo Basin?
Johnson Valley is, yeah, I think so, or just on the edge, but it still applies because it really, the sign is made for the Morongo Basin, but the ordinance is for the entire county. So not to worry, okay?
This is a driveway?
Yeah,
Yeah, just to sort of give you a,
okay. So you can use all the same arguments, okay?
Pat,
Yes?
is that going to encroach in that Sandus Knoll National Monument? Because that's all BLM land too.
I don't believe it's not supposed to, and if it does, it's not where we have to worry about it for this.
Okay, so I live right across the street from it.
Oh, if you live right across the street, you should go find the map, which is not in TMA 3, and look at it.
I know, I've got the sign posted right there about 100 yards from my house, so
Good.
it shows the map, but it's not correct.
Well, then you have to deal with BLM too. Yeah, okay, that's good, excellent. Any other questions before I close this down?
Yes, there is. So one can buy one of these signs for $188, and if you're not.
Can we get a?
So if one is not on a county maintained road, one can buy a sign.
Yes,
Then the question is, where can one place this sign?
talk to the county.
But if it's not a county maintained road, we're talking not county.
That's right, the county, but the county can still help you to
So
decide the best
it would
place.
then have to be on a private piece of property? Is
If
that-
that's, talk to the county, I don't know all those little details, but they've thought of them. And Mark probably would, but he's watching graduation.
All right, very good.
So I really don't know. I think the first ones are on county maintained roads, but if your house is, you have a bunch of a little area where, well, you'll see in one of these places, be perfect. Just stick it on your private property, no problem. Or, stick it on the edge of a road where it doesn't hamper any kind of traffic. I mean, it's good common sense, I think, is part of it.
Are you saying then that all BLM land is going to be off limits to off-roading in county?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that BLM land is very difficult in the Morongo Basin and certain other areas because it's checkerboarded. And they had all these little pieces on the street where I lived, on Mesa. There were 7 330-foot pieces linked together by 9 miles of dirt road that didn't belong to BLM. They've done away with that. That is stupid.
One of the trails they want to use is accessible by 600 feet of private property.
Well, so then you need to mention that. So is this in an alternative 2?
I don't know where alternative 2.
Okay, let me, okay. So, you'll see that. We'll look at that first. So now we're going to go look at maps. And this one is not the one we're going to look at because this is the one with Goat Mountain on it. We're going to look at the one with Monument Manor, which is Joshua Tree South. Is that correct? Okay. I believe this is Monument Manor. Going to open it up like that. Now, the way I look at these maps, are you watching what I'm doing? It's easy to do this. Once you get a feel for it, it's easy. But there's too much information right now for me to see where the green routes are, okay? So the first thing I do is I go turn off the USGS topo. Okay, done. Then I go turn off, I would need to see, no, I need the roads that aren't Huh. Yeah, non-BLM routes, can you? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, this is not open yet, that's why I'm having trouble. Okay, so non-BLM routes are gone. Okay? Now, where are the routes in this one? They're there, you see them? But you don't know, this is number 4, that's it, opens on 4. So we're gonna blow the map up a little bit here. And we're gonna go over, this is where you live, I think, right there? Okay. And we're gonna keep making it bigger.
Those little, the squiggles are green, it's just kind of hard to see them. Right?
Well, that's why we're blowing it up,
Yeah,
so that you can,
it's gonna start coming into focus.
yeah, it'll come in a minute.
Yeah, that's section 5 up on the right.
Yeah. So now we see, now what's the red? The red is, they haven't decided what's that yet, so you don't drive on it. Translinear disturbance, does that clear it up for you? But it's not a road. It's not a road for, or whatever, but it's not a road. Okay, you see the green in there? We can do that some more. And some more. So that you get a good look. Okay, now this is section 6, that's section 5. And down here, I believe, is where you live, and there's some green in here, right?
Yeah, that'd be trail number 12693.
Okay, so most of these trails are now red. That's good. Now we're going to go from alternative 4 to alternative 2.
Why it's good.
Well, wait a minute, okay? Turn off 4 and turn off. It's good, as I said, because you can't go on it. It's not a route. It's not a route of travel. So it's not green. And now your green routes are surrounded by yellow, which means street legal only. Okay?
This is alternative 2.
This is alternative 2. What happens up here? Okay, now we're going to go down and we're going to put some landscape back in it so we can see what's going on. So now there's BLM land right here, and there's section 5, 6, this is section 5, and down here is Monument Manor. And it's the green routes that are now surrounded by yellow, which makes them street legal only.
The Monument Manor is up by section 5.
Okay.
Section 7 and 8 is Monument Manor.
Okay, well, here we go.
Right there. The green, right there.
Okay. So this green right here?
Right. My house is right there, and they have to use 600 feet of private property to get there.
That's very easy to tell them. You just tell them.
But that's been told to them, and they just...
Tell them again. There's a whole lot they did do. Do you know how much they had to do? It was huge. So just tell them again that piece right there, that number, means they have to use 600 feet of private property, and they'll take it off. And if you have to tell them again, okay, but it's according to their minimization criteria. So tell them that. Then we have another green route that comes in off of section 6, which pretty much goes nowhere, except that even if it's a translinear disturbance, it's very seductive to just keep going into the wilderness area of Joshua Tree National Park. So you're going from the Desert View Conservation Area, which is a county park, which doesn't want off-road vehicles in it, and you're having them have to truck it through here, and then drop their trucking and get their off-road vehicle out, and then they get this much. Perhaps not. Maybe they should just do street legal only. The same goes for up here. This little piece now is surrounded by yellow, so it's street legal. So I would think in your comments you'd want to suggest that, more than suggest, that this green doesn't work. And because of where it is and what it has to go through, what you have to go through to get to it, whether you're down here or whether you're over here, and where it leads into is wilderness area, because it just does. And then if you go across here, there's a similar piece of green that's just connecting this street legal only with that street legal only. There's a route in there. That's a mistake. They need to hear about that and take it and make it street legal only. I don't know where it is, but somebody over now.
The rifle range going.
So other people will know. Now also, going into Big Morongo Canyon Preserve, remember these little things? You know, those were so cool. What did they mean? Now this is off-roading into Big Morongo Preserve. It's now street legal only. And I'm not sure which road that is, but that's what that looks like now. So this is to protect the wilderness values and the conservation values of this area. And this is Joshua Tree National Park.
Is BLM going to take over Section 5?
I don't.
Monument, the park. I heard somebody that Section 5 is going to the park, National Park.
I haven't heard that. I don't know. If there's any questions, just holler out because I can't see you. So you can also find out things, for instance, down here, start at residential areas. So there's where you live, okay? Down there. You turn that on so you know that they're paying attention to where people live. Sometimes there's some place out in Wonder Valley that they didn't make it correct. Areas prone to erosion. Another reason why you want to look to see whether trails are going through areas that are going to be giving a lot of dust and ultimately when it rains, eroding off. So that's important. As I said, the desert linkage design isn't here because they didn't put it on.
That's too bad because they had it in the earlier map.
No, they didn't. Where they have it, let me get over there. They don't have it here. But they do have it here because that's the one coming in from San Bernardino. See? That comes in from the San Bernardino.
It's in Pipes Canyon they show it.
Right, but this is the San Bernardino linkage. It's not the one that's in the, you see what I'm saying? It's a different linkage design. So they have that. They just don't have the 2008 Joshua Tree to 29 Palms. Okay, should we look at another map?
To be able to navigate through these PDF files and do everything that Pat's doing, you can't look at them online. You have to download them to your computer. Then you use the toolbar on the left that she'll use next time to open up these various options and data.
So the way I do it is now the map is open. I immediately get rid of this thing on the right so that I have a little more room. And then this, because of the screen, you can't see that, but this is the layers piece. You can see it right there. These are the layers. You open these layers, and now you've got your alternatives. Then you open the resource layers, and there they are, okay? Now, I mean, what can you see here? There's Copper Mountain. There's Desert Heights. Back in the old days, the previous one, there was nothing but short pieces of green everywhere. It was maddening. And it did, they weren't routes. So let's see what's there now. So first I'm going to take off the USGS. Gone. Then I'm going to take off non-BLM routes. Now those little things, those little dots, those are route numbers. Okay? And then there's some what are considered BLM routes in here so I'm gonna, are you with me? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's just take it down to about 100. And now remember, we are on alternative 4. And most of those, look how many of them became red. The translinear disturbance, which doesn't mean we don't still have some green. Okay? So we still have some pieces I think there's an algorithm they use somehow and they mix it up. So, and I know that this is area that I commented on and they're now not green, okay? But let's see what happens when we click off of 4 and we go to our preferred alternative. See, now all of the green are circled with yellow, which means street legal only. Then there's the red, which is translinear disturbance, which we can live with because, you know.
Kind of laxes what they've done, right? I mean, I hear what you're saying, it's great, it's street legal only, but why do they have these starts and stops?
They have the starts and stops because that's their land and they're required to do something with it. They have to. It's federal law. Now, federal law was... No, they kept, when you look at an aerial image of this, you will see that there is some kind of disturbance in places. And some of them are clearly roads, others are not. So they try to deal with those. And then they try to see if there's, for instance.
But where it breaks could be private land.
That's correct.
Is there an option here that shows the BLM versus non-BLM land like these?
Well, there still is. I just took it off.
But
So,
also, Pat, it's a computer-generated listing too. So the BLM doesn't necessarily know what's out there, but the computer is spatting a lot of this information out on the parameters that it's given. So it doesn't necessarily make real sense.
no, but they are much better than they were. You notice that things are very improved, and now we're looking at residential land. Okay, so you see they've taken away, all those that went from one piece of residence to another are gone. I will put back the BLM land. Okay? And I always like to start with an empty map and fill it in so that I get what's going on. Because you can't see things sometimes. So the residential land, is there any wilderness acreage here? No. None of that. Plant assemblage. You kind of look around for that because Johnson Valley creosote bush clones. Okay? So they don't have anything running around in there. Areas prone to erosion. Oh, well. So now where we continue to have green in this area is the routes that start on BLM land and go up into Copper Mountain onto BLM land. And I don't, most of them are now translinear, but they do have this one that goes through.
Would it be useful at some point, or are you planning to show actually how you can click on a route and submit a comment? Is that useful?
I don't think that's useful, and the reason I don't think it's useful, except because you might want to write a letter about, some more, because of time. But they do have.
Just to be clear, there is not a way on these maps to click on the route.
Oh, thank you. PDF doesn't
submit
have
a
them.
comment. This year, the BLM came out with what they call the interactive GIS maps. And that does allow you to click on the routes and submit a comment. It opens up a form, but they did not include the street legal designation.
They have no alternative to.
They don't show that. So the way to make a comment still this year is to find the routes that you're concerned about and submit a comment. You can go to community.orvwatch.com or orvwatch.com, and we have forms that you can submit comments, just like we did in 2015 and 16.
Well, when I talk to BLM, I mean, you look at something like this and it's enough to drive you nuts. I don't have to make every comment on everything. You can just say that you are in TMA 3 and that you are on map such and such. If you can see and easily deal with the route number, that's fine. But if there's hundreds of them, don't worry. Although there aren't hundreds anymore. I think you can go to where your house is. You can kind of make, because if you were living over here, you might want to comment on this one. But now it's street legal only, so. On alternative 2. So it's, if you don't do alternative 2, say you do alternative 4, it's green. Alternative 3. You like alternative 3? All the translinear disturbances are now routes. So alternative 2 and alternative 1 is the way it was.
Pat, can you show the drop down in alternative 2 that takes away even more routes?
Okay, that actually it's always on.
Oh.
Okay, but see this little arrows, they're drop downs. And it says alternative 2 roads designation, and then it says alternative 2 authorized and authorized routes, and that's something for them, and street legal only. But what I found, it's always turned on. If you find it's not always turned, I was going in to always turn.
Turned mine on and it took away some more routes.
Ah, okay, so mine is up, it's learned me. And it always has it on. That's good to know. Check it. Be sure to check it. Because if I went to another computer, maybe I have to go turn on 2 and then go down deeper and turn on street legal only to know. This is not, child's play, but it gets to be fun. Yeah?
Pat, is there somewhere on the website some kind of definition of what's a street legal vehicle?
Yeah, there would be. It's one with a license plate. You have to be, so the cops don't stop you.
Pat, I just want to second what Rick mentioned about orvwatch.com. There's a really good section in there explaining some of the regulations that could be useful to you if you're making comments, and it also clarifies some of this stuff if you're confused about it. So it's orvwatch.com, and that's just another tool that you can use, and it also gives you some clarification.
Thank you. Yes, I've been putting some of those together, as has Rick, and as we go through the 1,000 pages of the EIS, we add.
Right.
But you can download that too and look at your.
It's just a simplified sort of overview of what's going on and what could be useful regulations to think about. So thanks a lot.
Okay, so do we have anybody from Copper Mountain Mesa?
Oh, what?
This is your area. Are you happy with it?
I'm looking at it.
2, 2, and 2.
I don't want to put my big fat face right up there, but I don't see what the roads, I don't know what the roads are.
Alternative 1's still on.
Ah, thank you. Take it off. Only 2 should be on. 3 and 4. Okay.
Can we find a street you're trying to orient?
Oh, that's very hard. They'd like you to.
Like, I don't know, is Giant Rock on there or Winters?
Yeah, Kachina Drive.
Who?
Kachina Drive.
Put something on there that nobody's ever heard about. You have to blow it up a lot in order to be able to see an area. And if you're not really clever, you might not find your own place.
Yeah.
Miles Square is there to the right. Sonora, this is Sonora.
Okay, I don't know any of those roads, so.
So Sonora's an east-west road, or excuse
Yeah.
me, a north-south, pardon me, north-south.
is on the left side there, not the far left, but not Hampton.
Okay.
On the last maps, some of the streets were really close.
This is good, it's all street legal.
Yeah. Yes.
And what is it looking for?
You want, just a second, you want me to keep going? Okay. I can't. It's done. The map's over.
When we comment to BLM, is it important that I noticed in their materials, they say if you want a route eliminated, say, call it a translinear disturbance.
Yeah.
But if it's already a road and it's green, if it's part of a road that people travel on, do we want to say street legal only? Like, because, or does it matter?
You know, I don't know what to say. I would call up the BLM and ask them.
Okay.
And on that first page is Matt's phone number, or send him an email. You have that too. I think it depends on whether or not you're familiar with the area and what it is, and then you can be more precise, but you can give the number.
But how about going back to open, limited, closed? If she wants to close it, I think you should just say closed. Say closed. They say translinear, but.
You can give reasoning too. I mean, if there's a dust issue or there's wildlife issue.
Well,
yeah.
You have to.
Right.
You have to, because pretty much that was the takeaway at the BLM
Right.
meeting.
Right.
That if you didn't have substantive comments,
Right.
just forget it.
Right.
Okay, so keep your eye on OHV Watch. We're uploading all the time reasons why things should be the way they I think it's much better. I mean, you can actually find reasons. And I do that by going to the document itself. I tend to search, you know, you search in a PDF, you go up here, and you put on your little microscope, and you say whatever you want. In the document, I search for things like minimization criteria, I search for translinear, I search for where they're talking about it, and how they say and how they're incorporating that thinking into their thinking. So instead of trying to read the whole thing, which will put you in the hospital,
Can we talk about maybe some generic issues? I mean, this is really good. They heard us the last go around, the street legal only in residential areas, right? They responded to that. Is there another kind of issue that we should kind of look at?
well, for alternative 2, they did a good job.
Right, so we say that, but is there something else? Is there another loose end?
The loose end was what they lack linkage design. That's a big loose end. And I have that in a list. And
So if you know,
so if you know any of these places that are green and you don't, for instance, what do we do? We're looking at, okay, let's take off 2 and look at 4. So you can go back and forth. See what you've got. Does that make sense? I don't live up there. Does that make sense? Do these make sense? But then if you, what did I do? Did I not?
2's still on.
Okay, 4 is on. And 4 has has also got a subcategory for street legal only. It just isn't very much. It's only 162 miles as opposed to 300 and some. Okay, so Sarah's worried about something.
I thought the only place you could ride off-road in a non-street legal vehicle was the Johnson Valley off-road park or whatever.
So how can there even be any routes that aren't street legal?
The question is, or thinking is that you can't ride on BLM land except in approved areas, and that's not so. That you can ride on BLM land that's not an off-road vehicle area.
That they've designated.
That they designate it as, you know, as a, that's what they did. You don't have to be around here. If you want to do a big, beautiful off-road vehicle ride, go to Johnson Valley. Otherwise, you get those little pieces and you have to truck your car, your OHV in. Okay, so we have another issue that we have to deal with. Are we pretty clear on this, or can we? Yes. It's much easier than last time?
I have one question.
Yes.
It's kind of a generic question, but at the BLM meeting, they were showing people how to comment on the online interactive maps. But what you're telling us is that there's an alternative way to comment, and that might be a better way?
Yeah, that was just what Eric was discussing. The online ability to comment is a different set of maps. And these different set of maps do not have the alternatives in them, so you can't find alternative 2.
In talking to the BLM, and as we've examined this new version of the interactive maps, I've been told that basically they're a guinea pig for that method of commenting, and that the tool is not complete. And specifically, the tool is not complete in that interactive map that does not show you the street legal only alternative. So the only way to be sure you're commenting correctly is to look at the PDF maps and then write a letter using one of the comment forms that you can find on orvwatch.com or on the BLM site. The GIS map is just not dependable or complete in its accuracy.
I mean, isn't that a violation of the federal law? I mean, isn't this the whole purpose of having the comment?
And yes, we're making those comments to the BLM and perhaps trying to get that fixed.
I mean, they've got their preferred alternative that you can comment online, but not the least disruptive alternative.
That's right. They don't have that street legal only on the online map that you can use. And really, they're just trying to, they're doing their best. I think let's not get angry at them because they've really come a long way from the last time, and this is only 10 years. Think of Donna Sharpede, 20 years and going, you know, before she passed. So, buck up.
But the more of you who find those types of problems and the complexity of commenting, or if you find inaccuracies, now is the time. In addition to just commenting on specific routes, let them know that you're having problems with the tools that they're providing and the short comment period that we have.
Right. That's all of that. They'll listen to you. So, and all of these maps aren't necessarily useful for us. Some of them just show, you know, something pretty tiny. Oh, that one isn't. That's a good one. Haha. That's Apple Valley. You can find your place. Well, we know where that is. That's Johnson Valley up there. And these are radically different. Right. So we're going to stop doing this now, and we're going to take it. I'm going to give myself the right to be the first one to speak from the panel up there because we have one more big issue to discuss, and that's the renewable energy conservation element. And I don't have my paperwork, and I don't have a PowerPoint for that. But everybody got these, right? Okay. What is the renewable energy and conservation element? You should go on the web, go to the county, and look, just Google renewable energy conservation element, San Bernardino County, so because we don't have time to talk about it at length. However, when it was originally approved by the Board of Supervisors on August 8th of last year, they took out policy 410, because that policy had not been heard by the Planning Commission. And they directly said, take it back to the Planning Commission so that they can study it, and then we can prove it, and then we're done. But that's not what happened. 10 months later, they've come out with a revised staff recommendation for Policy 10, which is clearly one that's been done with the help of the developers and isn't meant to help us at all. So Policy 410, just some things to point out. It is extremely strong, the original. It prohibits development of utility-oriented renewable energy projects in rural living use districts. You can go to court on prohibit. It prohibits development of utility-oriented renewable energy projects within the boundaries where there are community plans, which is Joshua Tree, Lucerne Valley, Homestead Valley, and maybe Pinion Hills might be useful, but those are our areas. And do we want utility scale solar? We could get it. We have flat land and we have transmission. We're looking at Lucerne Valley, which has 5,000 acres planned, bracketing the scenic highway, which is nonsense. You look at up into Daggett, they have plans for 5,000 acres there too, which would be 32% of that area. This is nonsense. But it's all flatland, and it's got transmission, okay? So the developers and possibly land use services didn't like that. The other paper that you got, I analyzed renewable energy and conservation element. And how many ways does it look after the community and the community members? Huge. Look at that. The revised staff recommendation is exactly the opposite. Policy 410 required utility-oriented renewable energy project applications to include a community compatibility report to outline project benefits and measures intended to protect the quality of life and economic opportunities in existing unincorporated communities. How about 5,000 acres of that? That's over 1 million of those stands with the, you're going to make, anyhow, read through these.
Use the microphone.
Oh, sorry, read through these. And read through them carefully, and they sound exactly like they were written for a housing development, not for renewable energy. They don't make any sense whatsoever. And finally, Land Use Services is going to bring both the original 410 and the revised staff recommendation before the Planning Commission on May 24th. It would be really useful if you do not want utility scale solar in the basin of Joshua Tree that you show up and you have 2 ways to comment to the county. You can either go on a bus, which would be great, catch it at 7 o'clock and the bus will take you down to the county building and you can stand up and make comments. You can reserve your spot by going on info@mbconservation.org. That's Morongo Basin Conservation.org. So sign up for the bus. It holds 24 people. You leave at 7. You get there by 9. You didn't have to do any driving. You had a lot of social. It was very fun. Or you can comment at the Burke Center in their video conferencing room. Then you show up there at 9 o'clock. Or you can write a letter. And this has where you write the letter to Linda Mobby and her address. So we need to comment. The staff recommended is not for us. It absolutely will destroy the communities with level land and transmission. So you're looking here, you're looking up through Homestead Valley, you're looking through Lucerne Valley, you're looking up to Daggett and Newberry Springs. All of them are on soils that when they are disturbed, the vegetation is taken off, will blow in the wind. We would create something that begins to look exactly like Owens Valley. And it's a serious project that we have to stop. We have to stop that staff recommended. These are good arguments in here. Read it. The county stands up for us. Say, well, how does this go with what's in the renewable energy conservation element? The element, by the way, is, I didn't say this, part of the general plan, which is enforceable by law. The county has to follow it. and they didn't have an element. They had 7 others, and so they were given money by the California Energy Commission to develop this. They had a lot of public comment, but at the end, they just wanted their own way, whatever that is. So, do you get the point? Am I clear? Yes.
She's writing me notes.
If anyone does want to come on the bus, I'll just get your name and email right now before you leave, and we will contact you with the details.
The details are going to be like 7 o'clock. I got some. That's 7 o'clock at the Burke Center, free. And if there's, you can also do a carpool there. You can, but the more we show up, the better. But we have to comment. We can't let that, those of us who live here cannot let that go.
Because the unions will be there.
Oh, the unions will be there, as will the large-scale utility organization that likes these.
The other side will be there.
Right. And obviously, we don't even need this stuff. Right now, we're paying Arizona to take solar energy. And so they're going to give all these reasons, but none of their reasons protect communities, and this is all about protecting communities. Okay. Now we're going to have notices from other people, and then we'll have public comment. Starting off with Copper Mountain Mesa?
No, you said other people, didn't you? What do you want first? Do you want?
On the agenda, doesn't it say that we speak?
Now you're gonna pay attention to speak.
I can't, it's in the wrong place. I didn't practice this. On the job training. Yeah, I don't want to be trained. I don't want the job.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Okay, I'll start quick. Copper Mountain Mesa, I'm Mary Helen. We've got a couple things coming up that are going to be fun. On Monday, May 21st, is another edition of the High Desert Test Kitchen. It's at 7 p.m. at our center. And for the month of May, their item is chola. Chola. Have it on your tequila. I don't know, whatever the hell it is. Why do you cook that and eat it? You look at it, right? Well, obviously, I don't go. Okay, and then we're going to have a Memorial Day barbecue. We arranged it for Sunday the 27th, but maybe the 26th, so I guess to be announced. And we're going to have it at our fire station. We're going to have burgers and dogs, and I guess we're not going to have a fire pit. We're going to have some local music, and BYOB. Thanks.
Gail Swart, Morongo Valley. In June 16th, Saturday, the Morongo Valley Firefighters Auxiliary, which is a 501c3, is having their big event of the year fundraiser for the fire department, casino night. And it's a lot of fun. Tickets in advance are $25, and you get a roll of tickets, and you can play all the games. We have Vegas nights come, and they put up a craps table and a roulette wheel, and all the professional gambling things. And there's with your $25 ticket, there's food, all the food you can eat, and drinks. You get your first drink with your ticket, and then there's beer and wine, and a few of our ladies make Jell-O shooters, if anybody knows what those are, and they're very popular. We make a lot of money with the Jell-O shooters. But if anybody wants tickets, I have them now, and we'll have them next month at our meeting. They're $25 before the event and $35 at the door. And I hope some of you will come and join us. It's a really fun event. Thank you.
I'm Steve Bartle, talking about Pioneer Town.
That's not working. It's the other one.
Turn it on, please.
Steve Bardwell from Pioneer Town. I understand that the plans have been out for the water line going up to Pioneer Town. They're out to bid now. I don't know any more particulars on that. there was a very contentious application that had been made for a campground up in the Pipes Canyon area, and that application has been withdrawn. The applicant has withdrawn their application. Now, we don't know whether the reason for that, but we're very glad to hear that. As part of this campground application, they were going to be using a series of what they were calling tiny houses. And one of the comments that many of us made was, what is the definition of a tiny house, and how does the county look at this? Apparently, during our understanding of the processing of this, we've come to understand that there are other applications for tiny houses that have been made within the county. So apparently, this is now being considered by county council to make some determination as to exactly what these things are. But it all leads into this whole question of this vacation rental ordinance. So this is something we're really looking forward to seeing, something concrete that the county has in this thing that we'll be able to then comment upon. There is another issue that's come up in the last month is it's very difficult getting research performed by County Land Use Services and Department of Environmental Health. They take a long time to do this. An application was made for determining, researching some permits. They said 30 days. Well, 30 days later, we got a notice saying, well, it's going to be another 30 days and our microfiche reader is out. So this is really, this is not good, and I would hope that the county will make note on this. We've had several people inquiring about what is the county's shooting ordinance, and I have passed out my copy of it that I received through to get a sense of this, but I think this is something that should be, it's difficult to find. They went on the sheriff's website and weren't able to find that, so it seems like this would be a good thing for the sheriff to actually have a link directly on their website to be able to take people to that. But that's where we stand at the moment. Thank you.
Dawn Johnson, Landers rep. Okay, so the latest that's coming up right now in Landers is that the Landers residents are wanting to refurbish the Landers sign that is located on the corner of Ricci Road and 247. There's a bunch of signs there, and ours is looking pretty shabby. Goobler just recently replaced theirs, and it looks really good, but now it's making the other ones look a little dull, you know. So one of our residents, Judith LaFoon, has contacted the owner of that piece of property to learn what the do's and don'ts are of what we need to do to properly refurbish it. And, you know, we don't want to put something up there that she may not want. So she told us, and once there is an estimated price that is established, donations from the residents, which we've already gotten a lot of residents wanting to donate towards this. But we'll be accepting donations to give the sign a new facelift. So we're excited about that. It's pretty much probably going to be what it already is. It's just going to look cleaner and brighter, and people will actually see it. I think they plan on also taking down the Landers Realty sign part, and they're probably going to put something up like for the Moose Lodge. So it's going to look pretty cool, I think. And the next Landers Association meeting will be June 9th at 3 p.m. at Bailfield Hall. And every Saturday, the Landers Thrift Store is open from 10 to 2 at Bailfield Hall. And if you're cleaning out your garage or closets or anything like that, donations are welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Public, that's coming next. Usually it comes first, sorry, but David, if you want to bring it up. Now is the time for public comments. At this time, anyone may comment on items not on the agenda that are of interest to the public and within the jurisdiction of the MAC. The MAC is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Comment may be offered on items on the agenda when those items come up for discussion or action. A limit of 3 comments per item and 3 minutes per comment may be imposed in all cases. If you want to speak, please submit a registration card to the secretary and proceed to the podium when recognized by the chair. Speakers should address the MAC as a whole. Comments to individual delegates and/or staff are not appropriate for this venue. So, did you bring yours up? Okay. I'm hoping that I'm going the first that Will Harner, are you here? He had to leave? I hope he got answered. Bill Hawkins, do you have to leave too? Excuse me, Mike Hawkins, I can't read. Yeah, to the podium, please.
Hello. Mike Hawkins.
You need to turn it on and lift it up, I'm sorry. Good.
My name is Mike Hawkins. Can you hear me? I'm
Yes.
from Yucca Valley. I have property in Landers, and I'd like to address the situation with the dirt roads out there with respect to the Small Tract Act of 1938, because I think there's some confusion about our roads out there. Small Tract Act of 38 was created for folks who just needed a few acres of their own to convalesce and recreate, but didn't want a 160-acre farm as was provided for in the Homestead Act of 1862. In 46, under the Department of the Interior, the General Land Office and Grazing Service merged to create the Bureau of Land Management, which was charged with administrating the Small Tract Act. After World War II, there was a rush to acquire these desert parcels, erroneously called homesteads. Several thousand patent deeds were issued throughout the late 40s and 50s. Applications were initially handled first come, first served, but by 1959 there was a tremendous backlog, and Congress was under pressure to remedy the situation. Before 1959, the land could be had for little more than the administrative costs, but it had to be proved up by placement of a structure, i.e. a cabin. That compounded the new Bureau's job, because many thousands of the Small Tract Act parcels conveyed previously remained vacant, and they had not been proved up, and they had to be reclaimed. In 59, Congress addressed the growing backlog by selling the remaining parcels at auction with a fair market value reserve, while saving a considerable amount of administrative burden by eliminating the requirement to prove up. The land was still available for song, so the rush was still on, but now it was manageable. San Bernardino County supervisors, however, were so anxious to get these lands into the hands of private citizens and onto the tax rolls that they deliberately ignored all those complicating infrastructure considerations like water, power, schools, and roads. Consequently, no county right-of-way were ever set aside in Wonder Valley, Desert Heights, Copper Mountain, Mesa, Flamingo Heights, Yucca Mesa, Landers, Johnson Valley, and Morongo, and anywhere that the Small Tract Act was implemented. Instead, the federal land patent, the deed itself, calls out a 33-foot right-of-way around the entire perimeter of each individual 5-acre parcel, even though generally only one side is ever used for road and utility purposes. The right-of-way belongs to that property in perpetuity, as does the entire property belong in perpetuity to the holder of the patent deed, and none of the roads built on these easements have ever belonged to, in any way, to any county road system. They belong to the property owners. These are not county roads, none of them are. They have never been maintained by the county. They were built and maintained entirely by property owners themselves. It is their responsibility, no one else's. No tax money has ever been spent on them, not one red cent.
Okay, the time is up. Thank you. That was a good background.
Pardon?
I said thank you. Jane Falk?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jane Falk. I live up in Homestead Valley, and despite my funny accent, I am an American citizen and a retired park ranger. I got my gorgeous house in 2004, nice and peaceful. In the last 3 years, my neighbors and myself, who are all here with me tonight, we have seen our area dissolve into an untrammeled, huge mess. We have 4 illegal camps on Sonora. One of the people on Sonora has illegally blocked off a main road. None of these people have, Rick has checked all these permits out. These people do not have septic permits. They've all dug septics. They do not have toilet permits. They do not have conditional use permits. And between them and their homes and their messy guests and the bonfires, they are ruining our area. We need help. We call, all of us, every Monday. We call the city, we call county, and every time we get some obfuscatory remark about, oh, this act and that act and this act and that act, and nothing makes any sense. And we are absolutely fed up with it. Anytime I call, I ask for Michelle. Oh, there's no Michelle here. Is Erin there? There's no Erin here. These people in county, they have a bigger turnover than the tides in the Pacific Ocean. It's ridiculous. And it's just getting absolutely crazy. And we want to know what we can do, because we don't get any help. And we see our area descending into the slabs. I don't know if any of you have been to the slabs, or if you know where it is. It's really, really horrible. And I did not retire to live like this, and I'm sure if it's not stopped, it's going to involve the whole of Yucca Mesa. These people, they're buying caravans, they're buying 5 acres, they're plonking the caravan, they're plonking their little portable toilet, and they're having parties and messing up the whole area. And we want to know what we can do. That's it. I've said my piece.
Thank you. Michael Feinstein?
Good evening. My name is Michael Feinstein. I'm a former mayor and city council member from Santa Monica, a co-founder of the Green Party of California, and a 2018 candidate for Secretary of State here of California. I'm in town visiting. Oh, that went fast. I'm in town visiting and wanted to share with you a plan that I'm advocating for electing the state legislature differently and how that would reflect more voice for your region. California has the worst per capita representation in the United States. The size of our legislature was set in 1879 when we only had 865,000 people in the whole state. Today we have 1 million people per state Senate district, but we haven't changed the size of the legislature at all. So we have very few people representing very many of us. If we kept the same ratio that we had in 1879 today, we'd have 5,000 people in the state legislature. I'm recommending 500, half elected from much smaller single-seat districts, and half elected from multi-county, multi-seat regional districts. These single-seat districts would be elected by ranked choice voting, like they use in San Francisco and Oakland, where voters are empowered to actually rank their choices. Instead of just voting for one person, you can vote for many. If your first choice isn't elected, your vote goes to your second or third choice until somebody gets a majority. But the interesting thing for your area in terms of the regional representation is that even though our lives are both local and regional, we don't actually send people to Sacramento on a regional public policy basis, out of regional public policy discussions. The connection between housing, transportation, between water and development, all those are state policies that affect how we live regionally, but we don't elect people that way. Proportional representation elections over a multi-county regional area are like they use in Europe, where if one party gets 20% of the vote, they get 20% of the seats. That means that everybody gets a seat at the table of the democracy. An individual area isn't just represented by one Republican or one Democrat. It could be several from both of those parties, along with Greens like myself, Libertarians, Peace and Freedom, etc. Is that 1 minute left, or is this? Okay, so in that kind of scenario, you have more voices coming from a region, more people have representation in Sacramento, and your region has people in each party that has seats in Sacramento, so your regional voice isn't just dependent upon whether your party is part of a majority interest in Sacramento or not. This is a plan that I'm hoping that your county supervisors, your state legislators will take a look at. Ultimately, it would have to be put on the ballot for a public vote. But in reality, democracy, and I know this from being a mayor, democracy works best when everybody has a voice first. Our current single-seat winner-take-all system eliminates most of the voices to start with, and that's just the backwards way of doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jane Jarlsberg?
I haven't even started. Jane Jarlsberg, I'm a resident in Joshua Tree, very happy here. I was here a couple months ago and mentioned that I'm also concerned about the affordable housing shortage. I guess we need to talk about it, the issues around that, and that I was planning to try to pull together a forum of all the parties that might be interested, involved, or informed about it. I believe it was Mark that suggested that I attend a couple other meetings before I do that. So I went to the Haven meeting, which is a coalition of organizations concerned about homelessness in this area, a very astute group. And when I spoke to them about my ideas, as a result of that, I was recruited by a representative from the Commission on Aging, the County Commission on Aging, because there was a vacancy for the California senior legislator. And apparently we have not had a representative from this area for some time. And I seem to be qualified for that. So I'm in the running right now. I probably will be your representative. Within a month or so, they will be selecting the people for the vacancies. And just briefly, I have a master's in gerontology, which is the study of the process of aging, from USC. And I worked for many years in the field, including in the 80s here in Joshua Tree and Morongo Basin. So I'm looking forward to being a representative, and I just want to start introducing myself so that people already have been talking to me about issues. One of them is funding for senior programs, and I'm hoping that eventually I'll see on the agenda for this meeting senior issues, and have a variety of people that might speak on it. So anyway, my name again is Jane Jarlsberg, and you can Google me, but also it's jjarlsberg@gmail if you want to get in touch with me. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for standing up. Thank you for standing up. That's perfect. David Fick?
David Fick, Joshua Tree. And I wasn't planning on public speaking, but because of the issue on the 410 came up, I wanted to put in my 2 cents on this. First of all, I want to correct Pat. Donna Sharpede fought it for 27 years.
Okay, 27, 30, I was thinking, I thought, no.
Yeah, well,
But yes.
actually it started 30, but
27.
And
I stand corrected.
I put in comments on WEMO and Barstow in 1997. It was all about DWEMAs back then, which were designated wilderness areas. And that's a long story. Cascade Solar. I wanted to mention about Cascade Solar because the 410 situation, the 410 the county wants to consider, they actually had communities that almost wanted utility solar, including Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree in 2011 was given the choice on Cascade Solar. Not much of a choice because it's pretty much railroaded. But what happened was Axio Power made all kinds of promises, including what they call gorilla snot. They were going to cover the place with gorilla snot, which is a loose term for a certain copolymer dust suppression thing. And then it was for 20 megawatts, which is about the size of what it is now. And it was in 2011, December, it was approved by the Planning Commission, and just it went forward because there was not too much opposition to it because we had promised mitigations. And this included, on the initial study, it was 2 phases. The lower half would be set and sold at SCE. The upper half would be tracking, which it currently is now. And then they also said they're going to move 93,000 cubic yards. That's a lot of land. That's to get it flat. Well, what happened was they sold out. And to reinforce this, the majority of the J community wanted this because they were told this would supply electricity for 4,400 homes, and Joshua Tree has 4,400 households. So it's an easy fit. They had promises. Then Axio sold out to Sun Edison. Promised mitigations were not happening. Illegal grading of 150 acres happened. Terry Rahal was in disbelief about it being happening. I was talking to her at the time. It was red tagged by Building and Safety. No fines whatsoever by a construction contractor who'd been doing this for 40 years and said, oh, he didn't know this. And then it was built, finished, and they didn't do anything for dust suppression. And they also, in an effort to clean their panels, they stole 70,000 gallons worth of water from Joshua Bay's Water District illegally, and they didn't react to it until our Joshua Bay's Water District manager got a hold of upstairs in Sun Edison. And so, and then of course Sun Edison went bankrupt. So that's the short version. I'll be doing an extended version, but I don't think any community is going to be wanting to have utility solar like the county says they want. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray, Tessa?
Ray Pessa. I have a home in Landers. I live in Yucca Valley. I want to thank Pat for her presentation. It brought a lot of new stuff up, and I want to thank Mike Hawkins, Friends of Giant Rock, for keeping me up to date on what's going on. Quite honestly, I've been lax on my vigilance with this WEMO project. But I remember signs. We talked a lot about signs. And so that you know, I think alternative 1 is a pretty good alternative. That's one that I'd be pushing. And we talked a lot about Civil Code 6022, which is a sign that tells me as a private property owner that I can keep people off of that road. Not just my property, but that road, like Mr. Hawkins stated, is my property. I pay the taxes on it, I maintain it, and if I want to put a sign up there saying 602, not the sheriff, but the code enforcement of the county will enforce that if need be. And I know that's a long way in the past, but I just don't see the need for all of this work and changes being done on our public land, not BLM land, on our public land. For what reason? We can put those signs up, we can enforce our private property rights, trespassing rights. And well, I mentioned back yeah. Well, I kind of lost my train of thought here. Huh? Take a drink, yeah. Anyway, that's the way I feel about the WEMO thing, and that's the way my letter will be going in. And there's something to think about. We put a lot of signs up. By we, I mean Fogger. We put slow your vehicles down on private property signs, some of your signs, your private property, our private property. And I think they seem to help as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike wants 3 more minutes, okay? We got it. We're just ready to,
Am I last?
you're last. We have 3 minutes to closing.
Had property in Landers. It's about the roads, the CSA roads. Every bit of the money that goes into every bit of
You need to use the mic.
Thank you. All the taxes we pay at the pump, the gas taxes, none of that goes to these roads. All the labor and monetary expenses associated with these roads is and always has been borne by the property owners themselves. One could justifiably, could and should regard them as private roads that the public is allowed to travel even though the public contributes nothing to their existence and never has. These roads cross private property. Some of them are so-called county service roads. They are sometimes called county service roads, CSAs. That term is misleading and has caused some to believe that they are county roads or that they are maintained by the county. They are not. These are the same small tract act roads or portions thereof, except that they are assigned to a road district formed by a group of property owners in a specific area who wanted to have a contractor help with the grading. The property owners agree to pay through a levy that is attached to their property tax bills, and there is no county equipment or manpower involved. It's all through a contractor. The county charges a substantial yearly fee to administer that transaction. It's generally around 30%. Any work needed to be covered by the contract, needed to be covered that the contract needed but not covered by the contract, like interim dragging of washboard surfaces, filling of potholes, repairing flash flood damage, putting roads back when they meander out of easements, and so on, so forth, is still the responsibility of the property owners, not the counties. The county is simply the middleman handling the money. It accepts no responsibility or liability. Ironically, there are those who would prevent an off-roading property owner from driving to and from a designated trail via the very road they maintain for them, and in the very vehicle that is used to do it with. Would they also prevent the thousands of property owners who haul their own water using non-street legal vehicles from doing that as well? Off-road vehicles have used these roads for generations. In many cases, motorized recreation is one of the reasons these places even exist. Our family has enjoyed maintaining and using our small tract roads that we built before building a cabin more than 60 years ago. Will BLM and county or some thoughtless anti-off-highway vehicle activist spoil that? It's interesting to note that the county understood the road situation when they...
Can you finish up, please? Because it's up. The time is up. We'll give you read the last sentence.
That's it. San Bernardino County understood the road maintenance situation when they wrote the off-road ordinance, operating without permission on private or public property. You know what that says. You're supposed to have written permission, but it also says, they included this paragraph, it says, this section shall not apply to the proper and legal operation of an off-highway motor vehicle by a property owner on a dedicated roadway or easement for road purposes, whether or not accepted into the road system of the appropriate governmental jurisdiction, if such dedicated roadway or easement is for access to and from the property owner's property.
Okay, thank you. And at 7:30, the meeting is adjourned.